All right, we're live, man. GYGB War Report show. Brief hiatus. I feel like the Spence Garcia fight kind of not deflated, but it kind of eased the schedule a bit as far as just I guess the bigger notable fights. Though boxing is still continuing on. I am your co-host Roberto Flag. I believe R.O. Diggity is going to be joining us in a minute, but yeah, man, we the schedule's starting to pick up again, and this weekend kind of went under the radar as it relates to just the fights that are going to be taking place this weekend. One notable full undisputed middleweight title fight we'll talk about, briefly. There's fights on Fox Sports 1, DAZN, again, like networks, streaming apps. I feel like we're getting boxing every weekend outside of maybe one weekend out of the month. But even at that, like you might get a DAZN 4 o'clock fight in the UK or what have you. But there's a lot of boxing going on. But the big, I mean, I was call it a big fight, but the big name this weekend is that obviously of Vasyl Lomachenko defending his WBA lightweight title against Anthony Crolla. So, we'll talk about that. I believe ROD is going to join us, but yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on, and I made a video about this on our Facebook page, which if you haven't already, facebook.com/GYGboxing. Look, there was an article that came out today. I believe it was maybe Boxing Scene, and they were asking Canelo, whose fight with Danny Jacobs is literally less than a month away at this point, man. I mean, this creeped up. And the question came up as it relates to his future, as it relates to Triple G, because look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, Triple G signing with DAZN does come with a third Canelo Triple G fight at some point. Now, many of us are believing that, this should happen in the fall. Like, what are you waiting for? But according to Canelo Alvarez, he is saying that he doesn't want to fight Triple G without him getting a belt. Now, like, here's the thing with DAZN, I guess, which it favors both of them. All the middleweights that matter in the sense of title holders, top fives, things of such, they're predominantly on DAZN. So the only other fighter that has a belt that Canelo Alvarez currently doesn't have is Demetrius Andrade. Now, we're getting word that Triple G, I think he's fighting Hassan and Dom. Have they made it official? What day? What's the date? We're already in April, and if the fight's happening in June, we got to hear something. And it's not going to be a big extravaganza or anything like that, but it'll be Triple G's first fight on DAZN. I never expected it to be a big hurrah type of situation, but the idea was that they would just go into September because, again, we're coming off of Canelo Alvarez fighting Rocky Fielding. Now he's fighting Danny Jacobs in a fight that I have to say is not going to be a huge commercial bang, man. I mean, it's just not, because I think it'll sell tickets, don't get me wrong, but this is going to be the first outing with Canelo fighting a top-tier guy on a streaming app that they've just raised to $20 a month. Not for the subscribers now. If you guys subscribe back then, you'll have it for, I believe you'll have it for $10 until next March. But if you're somebody who hasn't subbed to DAZN yet, it's going to be, the free trial and then the $20 a month as opposed to the 10 that us that subscribe to it in the beginning are paying. So that's still a bit of the shaky ground as it concerns. Is DAZN going to get a lot of subscribers now, or what has been the subscription rate since Canelo signed and this Danny Jacobs fight, and is it generating enough buzz for people to join the app? Because for some of you that don't know, this fight is being shown in the theaters. This fight is being shown at local bars. So it's not like there's no way people are going to watch it, but I just don't think it's really being highly publicized. So then you start to ask yourself, is DAZN going to put their foot down and say, listen, belt or not, like, we want this Triple G fight sooner than later? Because the thing I worry about is while we've seen 2 fights already, and they were both, highly contested fights, though, a lot of us believe the first one, was, is what it is. I you kind of start to worry, is this going to be like a situation where we run into spoiled milk, or, the expiration date goes out? Because look, if this does go through as it relates to Canelo and Triple G not fighting, in the sense that Canelo beats Danny Jacobs, no disrespect to Danny Jacobs, but in the case that both of them win their fights, is it realistic that they fight in September? And even leading into next May, Triple G will be 38 years old by then. So you start to think, man, is the wear and tear going to kick in? Like, truthfully, he should have 2 fights in between, meaning whoever he's going to fight, Hassan and Dom. And then the most logical fight would be him and Demetrius Andre, right? If it's a situation to fully unify the middleweight division. So then we're waiting till next May, and it's like, can we really wait that long, or should we really wait that long for a fight that we've already seen twice? I don't know, man. I don't know what the MO is going to be. I guess we have to, number one, let's see what happens May 4th. I'm of the belief that Danny Jacobs needs a knockout to beat Canelo Alvarez. I'll just leave it at that until we get to the predictions. But, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see, man. I think Canelo Alvarez, while he's being given a lot of money to fight on this app, I can't think that DAZN didn't go along with this deal without having some assurance that they were going to get the fights to get the subscribers in. And this Danny Jacobs fight, it's like the boxing fans want to see it. I just don't think it's going to be a commercial hit, as it concerns, that fight. But we got my man R.O. Diggity in the building. What is goody?
You, what's up?
Yeah, man. So, we were just, I don't know if you caught the article as it related, I was just talking about, Canelo's talking about, he doesn't want to fight Triple G without him getting, I guess, the last belt, which is owned by Demetrius Andre. But then you start to think, does that fight start to get the expiration date? Or, does the milk go bad, next May when Triple G's like already 38 years old? Like, what's your take on that?
Well, it's funny, man. Usually, like I said before, when you get trilogies, it kind of like, let's think about the trilogies we had. Trilogies were Gotti and Ward, okay? Roy Jones and Tarver, okay? That didn't even deserve a trilogy, because if you think about it, like, Tarver was just a bad matchup for him from the beginning. How many times did Muhammad Ali fight Joe Frazier throwing in Manila? 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those fights kind of needed an answer. What is this Triple G fight going to tell us after this whole thing? What is this Triple G fight going to tell us? Like, by him fighting him. Yes, it's a moneymaker. It's good for the Triple G fans, because those guys need some closure to what they felt like was a robbery, where most people say, hey, listen, you know what? This guy beat him. And arguably, I guess the first time it was a draw, and we could all say, you know what? Triple G probably won the first fight, but it was a draw. I just don't see what a third fight tells us. And I think Andrade has been waiting for a while. I think someone needs to fight him. Do I think it's Hollywood that Canelo is saying he needs to get a different belt? Yeah, absolutely. But
yeah,
I'm just saying, I think that's Hollywood and Canelo part. But then again, from a fan perspective, because we do speak for the fans, I just don't see what we need to discover or learn by having a third fight. There's nothing good that's going to come out of that. Like, honestly, if you think about it, we don't know who's going to win, but if we had to be betting men, I would sit here and tell you that, like you said, 1 year older, 2 years closer to 40, body starts acting differently, Canelo's just getting better. This fight is not going to be good. Like, you, Roberto, I have a text. I'm trying to see it. It's on the thread where you actually said, you picked Triple G, and you actually said, fight. Yeah, in the second fight, yeah, and you actually said on that thread, I'll never forget, and I was shocked that you said it. It was around like the 10th round. You said, yo, it looks like Canelo may stop him. Literally. You said that. Do you remember you saying
Yeah,
that?
yeah, because it looked like it was, you know, he was playing.
Right. So what's going to happen a year later? He's slowing down, and Canelo's just getting better.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing, man. I mean, I was making the argument in the sense where, for the sake of like the zone, right? You know, they both have these guys now, and if you're going from the Danny Jacobs fight, and again, man, like, to give Danny Jacobs the respect, let's see what happens in that fight. I mean, again, this is boxing, but be it both of these guys have their fights, you start to ask yourself, they're on this app that, you know, you don't have, a lot of people I know don't have, kind of shaky on how many subscribers there are. So, you know, do you think there's going to be pressure maybe on the people that run the zone to say, hey, listen, man, we're giving you like X amount of dollars, man. We can't have you fighting. You know, Danny Jacobs fight's good, but after that, like, they need kind of like a whopper, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, it's kind of the same with Triple G. And if you're Triple G, do you want to fight Canelo like a year from now? Or you want to
That's what I'm
fight
saying.
sooner than later, you know?
Listen, from a fan's perspective, like I said, I just don't see, like, Train thinks that Canelo and Triple G should fight because that's the cash out. You know, they're going to make a lot of money on it.
That's how
So
I kind of look at it, right?
yeah, so obviously that makes sense. But the caveat is this: what people don't realize is that, you know, Canelo fought in December, correct?
Yeah.
We haven't
Against
seen
Rocky Fielding, right?
we have not seen Triple G since that loss.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, all he's doing is just getting those miles on that Honda, man, on that 96 Honda are just accumulating.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
so
Yeah.
so
I
so
agree.
at the end of the day, while the fans want to watch it, you and I are sitting here saying, you know what? His window of opportunity was probably those last two fights. And to be honest, like, I think even his trainer has some trepidation about. I mean, I know a trainer don't, but if you think about how confident he sound from the first to the second
Yeah.
to them positive, I don't even think he's so sold on that outcome being any different. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind. I mean, number one, man, we need to see how Triple G looks now, like after this time off.
That's what I'm
And
saying. Yep.
and look, I think, I think the way Canelo in a third fight, the way he would come out like even bigger than in the, in the second fight, is if he knocks Triple G out. So it's like there is still that chance where a third fight for Canelo, though we kind of know what we made thing happen, them taking the chance to knock him out would just put him even that much more over the top, man. That's, I guess, their MO, and maybe that's why they're waiting another, just to wait him out. But I think, to me, if they fight in September, like, I would favor Canelo to win that fight. And look, and to your point, he's more active at this point.
And the thing about it is, like, between you and I, or not between you and I because we're on a podcast, but we don't know who's going to win that fight. But as fans, I think there's fans, the Triple G fans really want to see that fight. They want to see that fight. You and I are like, okay, like, do we need to see Pet Cemetery 10? Like, what else? So you're going to bury a goldfish now, and the goldfish are going to walk on land? Like, what's going on? Like, why do we need to see this movie again? So I don't think we need to see, as true boxing fans, I don't really feel like this is going to answer those questions that other trilogies have answered. The only thing I feel that's going to happen is it's going to benefit in line Triple G's and Canelo's pockets, which is fine, and it's going to help the zone as a network. They'll accomplish everything they want to from a revenue standpoint. But I think and yeah, I'll tune in. But honestly, I would rather watch Andrade fight Triple G than Canelo, because it's just, I don't know, it's just too familiar.
I think
Juan Marquez and Pacquiao comes to my head too, because there was just a lot of unanswered questions with all those fights. It was just so close.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I would want to see Triple G and Andrade. I mean, because, to your point, I mean, it is a new fight, And even, I mean, to add caveats, I mean, the thing about a third fight with Canelo and Triple G, if it is for the full undisputed middleweight title, I mean, it does. That is a big caveat, which, I mean, we're going to talk about one after this, you know, a full undisputed, you know, middleweight title fight. But I always felt like that was the MO with both parties. Andrade has been the guy that, you know, we always hear about how great he is and how underappreciated he is, but it's like, you know, when it comes down to show, you know, to show and prove, it's like there's still like questions, you know. And I think at this point, maybe this is his opportunity to say, listen, you want that Canelo fight, you kind of have to go through this guy who wants that fight too. So that fight does make sense. I guess it's just, I mean, you make great points. There's the point of the zone. They need subscribers. You know, we had the discussion about, you know, the ESPN Plus versus the zone, and which brings more value for the buck. And, you know, you got to start to consider that. I mean, as far as if you're the zone, man, like you want this fight, you know, you don't want anything to happen to jeopardize that opportunity. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. We have to see if Triple G is like gonna fight in June, man. Because I mean, they haven't really confirmed like if he's fighting in Don or maybe he is. I don't know. Like they really.
And the thing about it is, I know you're gonna tell me that Charlo was on the other side of the street, but like, what's he doing? Like, you know,
you just answered the question, man. I mean, listen, look, this is what it is, man. And we're not gonna like, it's not drawing out the whole PBC thing. And listen, these guys with Al Heyman have their own thing going on, man. Like and the way I know that is because Charlo is in a situation where he physically can go to Eddie Hearn and say, yo, or really go with Al Heyman and say, listen, boom, 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 here we go. But from what we're hearing, he's fighting who was gonna initially fight Triple G, but it's Brandon Adams, the guy that beat Mosley Jr. in the Contender. That's who he's fighting in June, apparently.
Oh my goodness, is he undefeated?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
See, but, man, they become good. I'll tell you.
I mean, but yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. Like with both of the brothers, man. I mean, I don't know what this year's looking like. I mean, I think Jamel's having the rematch, but with Jamal, man, it's just crazy, man. Like I understand the divide with the networks and the promoters. And look, Terrence Crawford has a fight with Amir Khan on pay-per-view next Saturday. And to be honest, we've all talked about in the chat, like we don't know what he's gonna do after that. So Charlo's he's in a tough spot, man. Like him and Andrade should be fighting.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that it's amazing how in this day and age, a fight like that granted isn't a pay-per-view fight, isn't like a primetime NBC, you know, a Fox fight. You know, back in the day, that would have been an HBO Showtime World Championship boxing fight. Like, I just don't I mean, I understand, but it's just ridiculous that those two guys, considering they've both ran into each other on several occasions, have not fought. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts to me, you know? But who do we blame? You know, like, who's Charlo going to fight this year? You know, if Andrade ends up fighting Triple G, like, who made better in that deal? You know? So I feel bad for I mean, hard to say feel bad, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, you see where all the world titles are at, man. I mean, we know how the interim titles work. I mean, who's the WBC champion? Canelo Alvarez. You know?
Yeah, it's just this whole thing is just weird to me, man, because I'm just wondering at the end of the day, like, you know, again, all the, you know, it's like this. You know, you're looking for a lady, and all the ladies are, you know, over here, and they're not at the spot where you want them to be. So what do you do at that point in time? Do you just stay at the same spot, or do you go to a spot where it's on and popping? I just don't know exactly how this whole thing works.
I mean,
by these guys, because what's going to happen is it's going to be the same thing. We're going to watch this fight, what, in 2025? I don't want to see that fight in 2025.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's
by that time, your son going to be a contender.
Yeah, right. I mean, me and Train talk about it all the time, man. I mean, I think it's just. I mean, it sounds like we're beating a dead horse, man. But it's just the unfortunate side of the sport, man, that I have to explain. And I know you know. I mean, granted, you know, RD, I know you don't really speak much on the business side, but I mean that unfortunately, man, is the big anchor as it relates to why these fights aren't being made, man. And it's just it's unfortunate for the fighters in the sense of, if you want to be a world champion and you're not a pay-per-view fighter, and in the case of Jamal Charlo, you don't technically have a promoter. Excuse me. Like, at what point do you just get up and say, listen, man, like, I'm hitting 30 years old, man, and I haven't had like a high level fight yet. So I don't know, man. I don't think there's going to be a collab type of situation unless it makes a lot of sense money wise, man. So we'll have to see, man. But as far as middleweights are concerned, we're gonna go talk about a couple of females who are fighting for, and this is a rare occasion, man. Like an undisputed middleweight title fight. Claressa Shields, Christina Hammer. This fight was supposed to happen some time ago. Christina Hammer had I forgot exactly what happened. It's like she had a medical condition that she had to attend to. She had to bow out. But yeah, it's taking place this Saturday. Just kind of went on the radar. But let me get your take on it, man. Well, I'll let you speak first, and then I'll give you my take. Like based on the conversation that you and I had earlier, but like just give me your take on the fight and who do you got winning?
No, I just believe that when you think about Christine Hammer, great fighter. There's chinks rather we saw in their armor. Both of them, Shields get knocked down the last fight or 2 fights ago, and Christina Hammer, man, she was actually knocked out before. I mean, people don't realize that, and they reversed the decision.
Yeah.
So, I can't help but to get my eyes off of what I saw for both of those situations. With that being said, Hammer has a higher knockout percentage and has fought probably more people, albeit, these people were probably not so great. And Shields brings up, that young lion, hunger, and all that stuff. She's backed by a lot of great fighters. You see her getting advice from the great Andre Ward and, other people. So for me, man, I used to think that Hammer was going to beat Shields because of her length and her jab, and I thought Shields was limited. But now as I'm starting to really start unpacking this whole thing and peeling layers, I'm starting to really believe that Shields is going to win. And the way I see it is, I just believe that Shields is going to force her will onto her. I just don't see Hammer putting up any resistance to what Shields is going to do. I'm not saying it's going to be a knockout, but it's going to be a pretty dominating performance by her.
Yeah, so I went back and I looked at that knockout you were talking about. It's for those of you who haven't seen, forgot who she fought, but basically she was in the midst of a clinch. Now, when you're in the clinch and you have that hand open, it's a free hand, and until the ref gets in there, as long as you're not getting hit in the back of the head and you're getting hit on the side or even on the temple, those are legal shots. Now, she was getting hit and she got hit flush, like I don't want to say in the jaw, but kind of like in the close to the temple, and she dropped. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a knockout. But they said it was I think they called it was like she got hit in the back of the head and they disqualified it. But That was a knockout. Now, some people said that was at 154 pounds and she's stronger at 160. We've heard this time and time again. Yeah, you know, I think there are points where Christina Hammer can make things difficult for Claressa Shields. Because the one thing I noticed with her sometimes is she gets a little wild and she kind of gets aggressive. But
like she did that time. Remember, Roberto, I'll never forget. Remember when she was walking in the ring and she was he was like, "Yo, what is this, man?"
Oh man! Oh wow! I completely forgot about that.
Yo, you were so flabbergasted. You're like, "Yo, what is this?"
Oh man, you remember that though? You were bugging out.
Like, what is this crap?
That was funny, man. But you know, all right. Like I initially picked Christina Hammer to win this fight, like you said. Went back to both of their fights, and yeah, like kind of like you. Like there's things I picked up with both of them where I'm like, okay, Christina Hammer could take advantage of that, and then vice versa. The thing that sticks out to me is Christina Hammer's. I don't recall how inactive she is. Because I don't know if this is her first fight back from her, you know, her being, you know, with the ailment that she had, which I forgot exactly what happened to her, but that could play a part. Now, here's another thing, man. And I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know if she's, you know, corrected things in her camp or strength and conditioning, or nutrition, or what have you. But you know, Claressa Shields was fighting at super middleweight, and she went down in weight in her first fight and fought for those world titles. But she did struggle to make the weight, apparently. Now I don't know if that she's making the weight a little better. Actually, wait. Christina Hammer did fight in February. She hadn't fought since June. So okay, well then we got to take the inactivity out of the way. So,
yeah, I think your girl Hammer has been more inactive than Christina Shields.
The Claressa Shields. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. She at least in the last couple of months, or the last like 8 or 9 months, because she hadn't fought since last June. And then she fought again this February, and she's fighting in April. You know, so I mean, that's pretty quick to fight from February to April. But any case, man, my pick with this fight, man. You know what? Like, I rarely do this, but I kind of agree with you, ROD. And the reason I'm saying this is because I just feel like Claressa Shields might outwork Christina Hammer, but I think Christina Hammer is going to land some clean stuff on Claressa Shields where it's going to kind of, you know, get the aggression going. And the trick, I mean, not the trick, but I think the key for Christina Hammer is how consistent can she be fighting on the back foot, which is what I think she's going to be doing most of the night. So
yeah, and you know what? And the thing about it is you know, how consistent can Christina Hammer be at throwing a jab properly?
Right,
because if she throws a jab the way that you and I think that she can throw it, I think that what's going to happen is that fight is going to be a little bit different. But if it gets to the point where, you know, Shields is just implying her will and forcing her will, that fight ain't going to go so good for your girl, man. It's a shame, man, because isn't this like the biggest? What fight is bigger? Was it the Ali and with the two daughters for Ali and Frazier, or this fight?
I mean, the thing with this fight, it's actually it's for actual, you know, sanctioned world titles, all of them. You know, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't remember the last time this happened, even in women's boxing, where all the belts are unified. So, I mean, for Claressa Shields, man, I mean, her big thing, if you've seen some of her interviews, I mean, she's been saying, like, you know, she were a guy, she'd be more famous or what have you. But I mean, look, if she's able to beat Christina Hammer and be undisputed middleweight champion. I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, especially she's only had like what 13 fights, something like that, 13, 14 fights. So we'll see. That's on Showtime this Saturday, around like 9 p.m. But there's another fight, and we'll get to the main event in a minute. But that night, on Fox Sports, Peter Quillen and Caleb Trout fight.
Oh boy. You know what's so funny, man? Stop there. It's just so funny because my lasting impression of Peter Quillen, man, he talked all that trash outside the ring to Mayweather, all that stuff, like his last fight. And I was just sitting here like, where was that energy when you fought Danny Jacobs? He like walked through you.
Oh, because he beat Jalen Love, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, like you beat Jalen Love. And I'm not saying Jalen Love is bad, but like he was like, he was all confident. He took 2 years off. He's talking trash to Mayweather, in the stands and all this other stuff. And, I'm just sitting there like, yo, like, this is not you. Like when Danny Jacobs was here and you got rocked in like 40 seconds, like you was like stumbling all over the place and you wasn't saying it too much. Now all of a sudden, man, you can talk a lot. You try and tell people all this stuff, man. So I'm just saying, man, like, I don't know. I hope, man, whatever roadblocks he had prior to that loss to Danny Jacobs, like he goes back to that because I didn't like him in that Jalen Love fight, and I definitely didn't like him in that Jacobs fight. Like those two fights to me were just like, who is this guy? Now, granted, Truex is definitely like rugged. You know what he reminds me of? Salido.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a good comparison.
He reminds me of him, like just rugged, like this type of guy that just brings his hard hat and his lunch pill to every event, and he's just not going to be a willingful dance partner. He's coming to win. I just feel like a lot of times again, I saw when Peter Quillen, despite his great record as an Olympian or as an amateur, I saw what happens when you pressure him. Mm-hmm. Man, Danny Jacobs walked through him in 40 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a minute, something like that, yeah.
Minute. He walked through him. Remember that. I would not be surprised if Truex could somehow turn back that clock and just be that rugged lunch guy that he would walk through Peter Quillen. It's highly unlikely, but my point is, I put those 2 points of reference up from that fight with Jalen Love or that Jacobs fight to the Jalen Love fight to say, number one, which Peter Quillen are we going to get? And number two, if Truex decides that he doesn't want to be compliant and be like a willful dance partner, that fight could turn out to be on the other end for Peter Quillen. What do you think?
No, I agree, man. I mean, look, this is the quintessential crossroads fight for both guys, really, man. I mean, I was even like trying to look up, like you mentioning Jalen Love, man. I completely forgot he fought him, and this is a guy at one point, man, who we were thinking like, like he was supposed to fight Triple G. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing? Like he literally walked away from that fight. I mean, whatever. I mean, so, look, man, this is a crossroads fight for both guys. I agree, though, man. I think this is a fight where Truex, I mean, yeah, if he just applies pressure and just throws, man. And mind you, this fight's at super middleweight too. So the Jalen Love fight was at super middleweight too. But yeah, that's a tough one, man. I mean, that can go either way for me. I don't have a winner in that fight. I'd have to really. That's really a roll of the dice for me, man. Because to your point, I mean, I two things can happen, but man, I don't know. That's a 50-50 for me, man.
See, the one thing my dad always told me, he said, it was like the anatomy of a knockout. We all watched it. He just always said, if you've been knocked out really bad before, chances are it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you really change your style up. I'm not talking about knocked down. I'm talking about knocked out.
Knocked out, yeah.
Like, right. Unless you change your style up, man, it just, it's just a habit, And Like I used to watch Mike Tyson, and we would sit there and like he never changed any of his style up. He stopped moving his head, he became a walking target, you know?
Yeah.
And he never changed it up. Roy Jones, you know, his athleticism, like his power starting to like dissipate, he wound up becoming a walking target, which is why people like Floyd and Ward are able to like defy these odds because they continually give you different looks where you think that you're looking at the same thing. You're really not, man. You think a team's playing man and they're really playing zone. Now you think they're in zone now, they back to man. Like they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Peter Quillen is just like he's just always that one gear. And that one gear may work, but you saw what happened with Danny Jacobs, man. Like, and I'm not saying Danny Jacobs is bad, but apparently, man, everybody thought that Peter Quillen was gonna beat Danny Jacobs.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, everybody did. And I'm not, and no disrespect to Danny Jacobs, but he forced his will on Peter Quillen.
Mm-hmm.
He walked through Peter Quillen, and Peter Quillen had no answers. Imagine if, like, honestly, didn't Gabe Rosado fought Peter Quillen, right?
Yeah. And now remember that was a disputed decision too.
Exactly. And what the reason why I say that is shout out to Gabe Rosado from Philly. He's a strong-willed guy.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't have been in that fight that
Even
Gabe Rosado.
how he fought his recent fight.
Exactly. Peter Quillen couldn't have been in that fight that Gabe Rosado was just in. You and I both know that.
Right. That's a good
point. So I'm telling you, man, once you start testing him, man, I don't know, man. He's not reliable.
Yeah, man. I think a loss for him at this point is that's pretty much it, man. I mean, because at super middleweight, man, at the division, I mean, we got Benavidez in there, who is going to be a tough dude to beat. Obviously Darrell and Callum Smith. It's the division has some has some talent, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's see the Showtime card starts at 9. That starts at 10. So they're gonna intersect, but I don't think that the main events are gonna intersect, which is fine, But that's gonna be the Claressa Shields, Christina Hammer fights on Showtime 9 o'clock. The Peter Quillen, Caleb Trout fight. The card starts at 10, but the main event obviously may not start for a while. So
is Peter Quillen on that card?
Oh no, he's on the Fox Sports 1 card. That's him in the fight with Trout's on that card. I mean, it's on Fox Sports 1, but the Claressa Shields, Christina Hammer fight on Showtime, but it starts like an hour before that card starts. So
let me ask you a question. If are you gonna, just out of curiosity, are you gonna start, doing that crazy ring walk? Yo, it's a shame, Roberto. You got some stuff with you, man. You was really bugging out at that joint. You was like, what's going on, man?
No, but remember Tank's joint, the Thriller joint.
Tank looked like he didn't want to do that joint, didn't he?
He said he did, man. But we were all like, man, okay. But anyway, so on to the main event, man. Vasyl Lomachenko, Anthony Crolla, which is taking place on Friday, tomorrow, as we're recording this show today. It's kind of funny that it's taking place on Friday, and ESPN Friday Night Fights was our joint, and it's an ESPN product, so it's kind of weird. But it's taking place for those who think it's going to be on the regular ESPN channel. I don't want to say unfortunately for those who have the app, but it's going to be on the ESPN Plus app, and so it's taking place at the Staples Center, and shout out to everybody involved in the fight, man, because again, we're all hip hop heads here, and we obviously got the unfortunate news of Nipsey Hussle. But it was really dope on their end of everybody involved in the fight that they took the weigh-in and moved it somewhere else, and didn't have any issues at all, with the funeral that was at the Staples Center for Nipsey Hussle today. So obviously rest in peace. But you know that was a dope thing on their end to do. But they had the weigh-ins today. They both weighed in at 134. Look, man, I'll pass it to you. You know, this is a fight that we weren't supposed to get. We were initially going to get the Richard Kami fight, which is a much more interesting fight because of, you know, Richard Kami being this tall lightweight with reach and size and everything. But we've seen Anthony Crolla in the past. This is even when you see Lomachenko's interviews leading up to this fight, he doesn't look very interested, which sometimes plays against the fighter, even somebody at the level of Vasyl Lomachenko, man. But I mean, but most of us think this is kind of a foregone conclusion. But I mean, I guess give me your take on the fight, if you know, whatever you think of this fight, ROD. Yo.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. You're on.
All right, so here's the thing. I have two things to say. Three things. 100-1. What does that stand for?
Are we talking about the odds?
Those are the odds. All right. Now, you talking about somebody, my wife came in, and she's like, oh, wow, like these guys are small, right? Lomachenko was actually my wife's height. He's 5'7". But we're watching a weigh-in, and they're talking to this guy, and they're making it seem like it's, you know, a Rocky story. And I'm just like, my wife's like, oh, this guy's bigger than him. I'm like, yeah. Let me tell you about this guy, though. This guy that's your height, sweetheart. He fought 400 amateur fights. He has 2 gold medals, and he lost once. And she said, really? I said, yeah, imagine playing 300, imagine playing 400 AAU games, and you only lose 1 game. She said, oh. Because she looked at his record and looked at it, the fact he only had like 12 or 13 wins, 12 or 13 fights. I'm telling you, man, the only thing that he has going against him is he has shoulder surgery.
Right.
That's the only thing he has going against him.
Which he fought after, though.
He fought after.
Right.
And listen, man, he's still doing the right things. He's calling out Tank. He's calling out those other people. Listen, man. I was the one that told you guys in the past, and I'm not saying I told you so, when he fought Warriors, when he fought all these other guys, Gary Russell, that he was a loaded draw for. Remember I told you guys that?
Loaded gun.
Loaded gun. I said, this guy comes to these, like a Uno match, he has his own deck in his pocket. You guys think that he can't play. He has a bunch of draw fours. I'm telling you right now, I don't see anybody remotely giving him any trouble. And granted, for the Lomo fans, please don't put him pound for pound after he beats this guy, because he's doing what he's supposed to do. This guy,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my caveats. 100-1. Don't put him pound for pound number 1 when he walks through this guy. That's it. There's nothing to really talk about. Like, this guy is really good, man. The best thing you could do with somebody like him, because it's not like he has, you know, decapitating power like Tank. This guy's very cerebral. He throws a lot of punches from weird angles, and he's fundamentally good. The best thing you can do with a cat like him is wait till he get old.
Yeah.
Or tell him to move up.
Yeah. And the thing I like about him is, like, he keeps it a bean about it. Like, they ask him, like, yo, like, you know, why don't you go to 140? And he says, he's like, for what, man? Like, to fight bigger guys that I'm already fighting. And again, we understand dudes going up in weight and everything. Everybody wants to dare to be great, man. But I appreciate when a fighter just keeps it 100 and says, like, nah, man. All right. Remember the article where they were talking about why don't you fight Terrence Crawford? And he's like, why? Like that he's like, that's a suicide fight, you know. But it's like it's kind of ill to see, like, you know, again, every fighter thinks they can beat everybody, but you know, it's kind of ill to see a fighter know his limitations, you know, as far as like what he physically can do. Because look, Vasyl Lomachenko can't go to welterweight and beat Terrence Crawford on his best day. It's just not gonna happen. I think 135 is like where he's probably maxed out at, because even at 140, those guys are closet welterweights too. So I think 135, 130 is his pocket, man. And then you start to, and then let me ask you this, man. Like, should Mikey, do you think Mikey can even make 135 now? And would you even advise him to fight Lomachenko, even if he can make 135? Like, you think he can even make it healthy at this point?
Mikey, man, the best thing for Mikey to do, I know it's going to seem crazy, Mikey shouldn't fight until third quarter.
I agree. I don't think
preferably fourth quarter, man. Let me tell you something.
I agree with that.
He might not, like, honestly, going back to the fight retrospectively, and I don't want to get on a wild goose chase, he blocked and parried a lot of those punches, but he took a beating. And to be honest, it's funny, man. It makes me think of, like, I could see him. I know it's going to sound crazy when I'm about to say this. Based off of that punishment he took, if he fought Lomachenko this year, I could see Lomachenko beating him like Pacquiao beat Oscar De La Hoya. Just overwhelming him. Because he can't get out of power save mode. Does that make sense?
No,
like, it seemed like he'd be stuck in neutral, man. He'd be stuck in neutral, and he might be reluctant to throw punches after he get hit with, like...
Yeah.
Lomachenko, if he throws one punch, Lomachenko's going to return fire with like 4.
And I think him going up to welterweight, man. I mean, remember what happened with Roy when he went up to heavyweight? And
he came down.
To heavyweight.
Something happened, man. I'm telling you. Roy gained the heavyweight championship against John Ruiz, but I'm telling you, Roy lost a piece of himself that night too. I don't know what it is, but he should have retired that night. But there's something about what you and I said. When you start moving up and down, you start gaining all this goofy weight.
Yep.
It start messing with you. So that's why I laugh at Mayweather, because he'll gain the weight, but then on fight night he loses 5 pounds. You know, fight at a weight. Everybody should fight at a weight that's comfortable for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, and that's the thing with Mikey, man. Is I just think he took a big gamble, and look, I think it's pretty obvious. I never once, none of us did. I never once thought like he didn't want to fight Lomachenko and vice versa. Like, these guys are world-class dudes and world-class fighters, and both of those guys would fight anybody. My thing is, I think Mikey took the gamble and got the bigger payday, but the trade-off is like, now, like, you missed out on a fight against a guy that, like, you know, some would argue before the Spence fight, he had much bigger chance to beat Lomachenko than he ever did with Spence. I mean, even if you just count size and don't count boxing ability. But even that being said, now he's putting himself at risk trying to drop in weight against a guy who has absolutely no problem, like what you were saying with Floyd. Like, Floyd never had a problem making 147 because he walks around at 147, like walks around at 145, 146. So, well, in that realm where it's not like he's killing himself to make weight, and Lomachenko is that at 135. I mean, he can really still fight at 130 pounds. No problems. So it's a missed. I mean, as far as Mikey's concerned, if you were to ask me, I think that fight's over and done with. I don't think we're ever going to see Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia. I just think because Mikey's only going to be able to make 140. And I don't think Mikey's going to give any edge to Lomachenko at all. You know, why would he? So I hope I'm wrong, but he had this meeting with the WBC where he's about to, if you ask me, I feel he's going to relinquish the title and he's probably going to go fight at 140, because that's just where he's probably best fit if you can't fight at 140, if you can't fight at 135. He is not a welterweight, and Mikey should not go back up to welterweight. But for Lomachenko, man, this is what worries me, man, and I want to get your opinion quick before we wrap up. He has this Anthony Crolla fight, and then he has, they're trying to plan this Richard Commey fight, which will be a unification fight. But where does he go from there? Because now you start to look around, and it's starting to look like the problem that Crawford right now is having after this Amir Khan fight. Like, who are you going to fight? And it's kind of a sticky situation, man, because when we talked about, this guy's here, this guy's there, he's talked about Gervonta Davis to the point where he's kind of like saying, he can't fight me because he doesn't think he can beat me. And we kind of know the deal with, what's going on over there. But if you're Lomachenko or if you're his people, man, like, after this Richard Kami fight, man, like, all right, let me ask you this, ROD. Like, what's a fight that you would want to see Lomachenko win after, like, let's just say he wins, he obviously wins tomorrow night. He beats Richard Kami later on. Is the Gervonta Davis the target fight? Like, do they try to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that is a very that is a very great fight that should be made, because when you think about it, there's some history there. Those guys are talking. A lot of stuff going on, man. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to look at, as we're talking, I'm trying to look at where he could possibly go. So let me tell you this real fast. Where he could possibly go. So he can go, hang on. So, Lee Shelby, Richard Kami, Robert Easter, Javier Fortina. I mean, you can even go down Ricky Burns, Devin Henley.
Devin Haney?
Devin Haney, yeah. Gamboa.
Well, you know who Gamboa is fighting, right? Or they're rumored?
I heard. So what do you do?
I mean, I think with him, he wants to unify the division, which is cool, We have to see what Mikey does, but from what I gather, he wants to unify the division, but he says he might make a trip back to 130. And look, at that point, the only unless Tank loses in some fashion or loses a fight or whatever, I think that's the only realistic fight that can be made. But me and Train and yourself have talked about this. As far as it concerns, like the lightweights and below, as it relates to big fights, very seldom have we seen a big fight below that weight. So I don't know, man. It's gonna take a lot of work. Now, here's the thing, man. I don't know what Lomachenko's contract is looking like with Top Rank, if they extended it or what have you. But after this Richard Kami fight, man, I'm wondering if he still has an like kind of an out, because I just feel it's going to be very difficult for them to land their Gervonta Davis fight. Also, not on his end either, but you got to think about Floyd too, and Al Heyman and these guys. Like, Tank hasn't really fought anybody, man. Like, outside of Jose Pedraza, and that's the fight that they pinned next to Lomachenko. But to your point earlier, look at who Lomachenko's already fought already, man.
Listen, this guy, man.
He's already fought 6 world champions, former and current world champions, with 12 fights in. Like,
listen, man, this guy. There's a reason why. Okay. Salido did not want to fight this guy again after he was robbed. He knew that basically, I hate with I left. It's almost like we used to play NBA Live, and you left with a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
You did not want to run it back. No, I beat you. Nope, I beat you, man.
Same with the fight night. Yep.
Same with the fight night. Yep. This guy has 13 total pro fights, 12 wins, 9 by KO, 1 loss. And the crazy part about it is, what people don't understand is, this guy has 2 gold medals. And I just want to say this again: he fought 300 or 400 times or 300 times, and has 1 loss in terms of his amateur. In his professional career, just so people get a note, they think that we're biased. He's beaten so far. Let me tell you who he's beaten. His second fight was Salido. Third fight was Gary Russell. Everybody thought he was going to lose that fight. He walked through him.
Yeah.
He goes up. He fights Nicholas Waters in his 7th fight. Beats him. Stops him. Jason Sosa.
Yeah, makes him quit.
Rigondeaux. Yeah, Rigondeaux. Linares. And now he's fighting. I mean, come on, man. This guy has 12 fights. He fought who's. Everybody, including me, thought until shout out to Azim, my brother. He told us that Rigondeaux was 100. And I thought Rigondeaux was going to win. We thought he was going to win, man. Remember Azim said, listen, man, Rigondeaux, he kept saying to us that Rigondeaux's older than what we think.
Oh my God, man.
But anyway, he's fought some very good competition, man. And I'm not going to take that away from him. Homie can fight. And the best thing everybody can do I think he's 30 is basically, man, just wait him out. He's 31. Wait him out, man.
That's what I think he's going to do, man. I mean, Tank, I think, is going to, like we said, he's going to fight. I don't know if it's going to be Abner Mares, but look, Leo Santa Cruz will come up. I think they might even do a Gary Russell fight, him moving up. The thing is like he should be fighting the other champions, but to our initial point, they're over at DAZN. So, him and Tevin Farmer, a fight I think Tank would win, but everybody's got their plans. Inevitably, some of these promoters, networks, what have you, are going to need to co-promote. Again, Crawford, Spence, they're going to need to co-promote that. Wilder, Fury, and Joshua co-promotions. It's going to take a lot of work, man. But, I mean, the thing is, us as fans and those that cover the sport, man, like, we have to demand it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as we keep demanding these fights, they're going to have to make them. They have no choice. But, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, I don't even want to do a prediction for this because I feel this is a foregone conclusion as far as Lomachenko is concerned.
The prediction is 100-1, man. Let's save our energy for next week because next week is going to be. I think next week is going to be. I don't want to get into it, but let's save our energy for next week.
All right, well, next Saturday, obviously, the ESPN pay-per-view with Amir Khan or Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan. And then, we're creeping up to May 4th, Canelo and Danny Jacobs. And funny enough, man, that weekend, shout out to my aunt. She's turning the big 5-0. I'm DJing the party. And the after party is going to be the Canelo and Danny Jacobs fight. So, that's going to be a spectacular whole affair. But, yeah, man, we got lots of boxing. Danny Garcia and Adrian Granados is coming up. Actually, next Saturday, too, at the same time. So that's going to be kind of funny. The same night as the Khan and Terrence Crawford fight. And there's a video of both Danny and Granados kind of going at it. I think Danny has to show something in this fight, man. And, we'll see. But pretty much it. Do you want to – we already bowed out real quick. But, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. We got a lot in store. And, June is going to be coming around. Anthony Joshua makes his U.S. debut against Big Baby Miller in BK. And, we'll find out about Triple G if this fight with Hassan and Dom is going to happen. That's pretty much it, man. Follow us at GYG Boxing on Twitter, at Guard Boxing on Instagram, Facebook.com/GYG Boxing. And that's pretty much it, man. Let us know what you think in the comments. Who you got winning these fights this weekend. Until next time, we out.